All right, everybody, here it is. It is time, and my hair is still very, very wet. It is time to do first look at Hyoh. And of course, this is a first look. So, as always, there's a chance that we could be wrong on some stuff. There's a chance that things might turn out better than we expect because of future stuff. That being said, I've already taken a look at Hyoh, and as a JP perspective, I'm going to start this first look as basically saying that if he came out today on JP, I would not pay basically any attention to him. And I'm going to go into pretty high amount of detail about that in this video. But for those of you who are just here for a click, like just a impression kind of thing really quickly to know whether or not you should pull, my answer is no. And now we're going to get into why. So first off, let's take a look at the full story here. So starting off with Ultima Bringer. Ultima Bringer has either accuracy, critical rate, or assault versions. In the assault version, 217 attack. You look at accuracy of 18 on this, and you look at critical rate of 16. I mean, all three of these are pretty good stats. I mean, it is a great sword, so you would expect these kind of stats anyway. I actually think they're pretty good. Looking at the conditions, initial AP of 10 and Ice Killer of 20, and slash attack of 15 is all fine. There's nothing wrong with any of this. As a matter of fact, it's kind of nice that it even benefits a few other types of characters, but for the most part, I mean, this is a Hyoh video, right? So, and I'm sure I'm going to be pronouncing that name wrong, and someone's going to be really annoyed, but whatever, doesn't matter that much. So next, let's take a look at the VC. Now, the VC works basically on swords and great swords. I mean, it does work on staffs too, but I don't think that that's really the exciting part of this VC. Unit effects are 20% attack and defense penetration of 10, required AP and accuracy boost for Hyoh of 30% and 15 respectively, and increase of magic of 40% for Rain and Dark Fina. Taking a look at party effects, agility of 18%, critical evasion of 20, and a magic resistance of 20. There's nothing inherently wrong with this VC. Like, honestly, it actually is pretty good. An 18% agility VC is also, pretty nice here. And I'm, just taking a look at it, there's even maybe some characters that I could see this working in different elements, like maybe Violet from Persona 5 with Warrior of Light might be an interesting kind of combination. But for the most part, I mean, this is being billed as a Hyoh card, so let's remember that going forward. Now, taking a quick run through of Hyoh. 100 cost, Fire Elemental, 3 move, 1 jump, Empire's Elite, Lancer, and Knight, Great Swords, Armor, Helm, and Accessories. Helmet is a 420 HP, 10 defense, 8 spirit, 12 accuracy, with a TMR skill of Fire Resistance and Ice Resistance of 20% and Defense of 20. Master ability gives him basically Fire Resistance and Ice Resistance of 10%, with an acquired AP increase of 30% for self. Dream ability is slash attack of 15 and AoE resistance of 10. Taking a look at his initial stats, we can see ice resistance of 20%. We can see damage resistance is pretty net positive across. 15% against magic, 20% against shooting, 10% against strike, and 10% against slashes. Overall, pretty good. Frostbite resistance, which I feel is, self-explanatory why it's there since he's a fire unit, but less than exciting given that, a fire unit probably would have already had distinct advantage into ice. I mean, I don't want to get too much into that just yet, but maybe just put a pin in it, as well as disable resistance. So next up, let's take a look at skills. And here, skills we can take start to get a better full idea of what we're going to talk about. First of all, Merciless Heart, 24% attack, slash attack resistance penetration of 40, AoE resistance of 15. Taking a look at his other super one, Abandoned Bonds, HP and agility of 12% each. Pierce attack doesn't feel super that interesting. Critical rate and attack boost might actually be pretty good to be considered. 15% agility and slash attack resistance penetration off of the other Knight ability and debuff in AoE resistance. Merciless Heart feels like you're essentially always going to be running, and there's a little bit of maybe you want Abandoned Bonds, maybe you want Night slower, depending on the setup and everything. I think HP and agility is always just so important, so probably the one you're going. Taking a look at counters, I have to say that this is the most boring unit I think I've seen in a very long time. First off, Lancer does do piercing damage, but isn't that interesting. And Knight just counters all damage by reducing it by 30%, which isn't really that impressive nowadays. But let's take a look at Beast's Reflex. A chance to counter physical damage of 30% with a 120 mod with a incredibly similar range, but no piercing damage. Honestly, it actually feels like a worse version of Lancer, and that's something. I mean, it is a preemptive counter, which can come in useful in certain spots, but the range on this is so incredibly low, and there's so many units, top tier PvP units that have great AoE on it, that honestly, these are the 3 most lame counters I've seen in a while. I guess I would choose Knight, because it might keep him alive longer, because the range on these other 2 is just unimpressive, to say the least. Alright, now let's skip through and just talk about Knight. Knight has incredibly short range on pretty much all of its stuff, short of its divine healing, which potentially can be interesting for some characters. I don't think that Knight brings a single thing that I'm excited about. It's all way too short of range for a character that doesn't have incredibly high mobility or some kind of teleport in skill. There's just nothing exciting in Knight at all on this character. I mean, I guess you can make an argument for stuff, but I'm just not hearing it here. I am less than excited about Knight. Talking next, we have Lancer, and Lancer, critical rate is kind of interesting. Piercing attacks with some knockback could be useful in certain spots. Immobilize might even be good, and 100% hit chance is at least worth considering. But again, very limited range on a ton of different attacks here, and I think that overall I'm just not really that net positive on Lancer either. But it's definitely better than Knight, for whatever that's worth. I mean, this is a 100 cost unit. We're not talking about a lower cost unit like Balo. We're talking about a 100 cost unit, and you kind of expect them to have a good options in their kit. Like, again, talking about Raph for a second, I know that this isn't really fair because JP is ahead by a number of months, but it also is because he would have to compete against this character. Raph has such flexibility in her kit of being able to go one direction or another direction or another direction, and all 3 are generally good. So look at Hyoh with his essentially like piss poor Knight options or mediocre Lancer options in a different damage type, in a damage type that isn't well supported in fire, it's pretty bad. Alright, so it basically comes down to his main job. Let's talk off. Limit Burst increases slash attack resistance penetration by 40, AoE high range, and like 200% mod and a 3-hitter. This is a great Limit Burst. I mean, it does elemental chaining, it has good range on it, it can hit multiple targets, and it does provide a bonus for him. Unfortunately, it does take a knockdown from the support skill from Knight, which is one of the only positive things I was thinking about Knight. So yeah, I mean, sure, you can get over 100% slash attack resistance penetration with Hyoh. You don't really need it. You shouldn't really need to get it. But yeah, this is a great Limit Burst. I like this Limit Burst. I'm not going to say anything bad about it. Taking a look at his main job. Main ability just decreases attack. It's fine. It's nothing special, but it's fine. 200% chance to ignore fatal damage, increase slash attack, and increase accuracy while having guts available. It's, again, this is perfectly good. If you think about some of the units, there are plenty of units that can, remove that, in which case you're essentially losing this, but it has 2 casts, so I would say that it's on par with a lot of the stuff that's coming out lately. Heat Drive, breaking physical barriers for the targets, and a pretty good range on it, single target, and a good mod on it. Nothing bad to say here. Next up, Beast Roar. Increase attack by 40%, defense penetration by 40, and gains Firm Resolve. Now, Firm Resolve is another counter that basically a chance to increase counter damage by increasing HP by 30% per self, which is curious. I'm curious about how this exactly works. If like it doesn't say recovers HP and heals, it just says, you know, gain 30%. So is it just 30% on max? If that's the case, and if you don't have a healer, I mean, there's nothing in this guy's kit that is restoring HP, so you need an outside unit to be able to heal, and fire doesn't really have great sources of that. I mean, maybe, I don't even know if you're running Phoenix or whatever, but because I swear Phoenix has some kind of regen property, but overall, the defense penetration is incredibly important here because this is the first source of defense penetration he has outside of his VC. And that's really worrying. Any kind of dispel, any kind of removing of his defense penetration is an immediate shutdown for this character's offensive capabilities against just a high defense tank, which strangely enough, you know, putting this guy against like current JP Engelbert or Warrior of Light or Raph or a ton of great characters that have high defense, if you don't have defense penetration on, this is just dead in the water. You can have as much slash attack resistance as you want, but a high defense will really limit the capability of your DPS, and that's a shame on a DPS unit. His large AoE Burning Drive does get upgraded, decreases defense by 25. This is a good source of getting around some defense. Decrease healing power by 40. Okay, it definitely will be useful against characters that will have the auto reheal, and defense counter chance basically decrease of 100, which is, you know, pretty standard. Last but not least is his job level 25, a selector target, which I always love these abilities, dispel, haste, and auto revive, 200% mod, and when the target is KO'd, recover AP for self. Taking a look here, it looks like it's 15 for each one. So let's talk about Hyoh and whether or not he's worth it. First off, a major red flag for me is his master ability, which is, for lack of a better word, kind of crap. Extra fire resistance and ice resistance. I mean, it's a win more character just from the extra, like his extra sources of ice resistance is like, wow, he can do even better against ice, which he was already favored against. Okay, and win, I guess, into the fire mirror, which is, you know, I guess if there's tons of fire teams floating around, sure, why not? Like he's all about DPS. And here's a major issue. Take a look at a lot of different characters. Kefka, Setia, and Hyoh now. What's something that they all have in common? They basically all have re-raise removal in their kit. One of the very only good sources of guts removal is on Roy Mustang, who's coming up on a future collaboration. So here's the thing. What does Hyoh really bring that other characters don't already have? And I'm not too terribly sure. Like, this is where we get into, I guess, the Umbra is going to be mean, because if you were spending, like for me personally, as a JP player looking at this character, if he doesn't immediately bring something new or feel incredibly like a sure great thing, or is just one of my favorite characters ever, then he's got to do something, right? And it depends on the options, because if I'm going to spend like UR scrolls and a UR horn, it damn well better be worth it, kind of thing, and I better get my investment back. And this feels like another case of, boy, I sure hope you pulled this VC, because this VC is a major source of defense penetration, and hey, guess what? It's incredibly high cost and low rate and difficult for a lot of people to pull, and very difficult for free-to-players who did not save up and did not get this and did not plan ahead. So talking about Hyoh on a fire elemental team and what characters he would potentially be good with, I mean, immediately it comes to mind of you can either go with fire physical or fire magical kind of thing, right? You could go, I mean, Mont feels like the natural, this is always going to be in that team. But then you have, on the physical side, you really have Yuffie and you have Pzaro, right? And both of those characters already synergize so well with each other, and if you've already gone that route, is Hyoh going to really improve that? No. Yuffie is a better character when she is made to be a evasion character. Same with Pzaro. Pzaro is the one case where I think, out of between the two of them, if it was between Pzaro and Yuffie, I would say generally it would be better the Pzaro route because he has reflex and is probably a little bit more capable to be a little more DPS. Yuffie doesn't feel like that. But I still think that Pzaro and Yuffie are generally just better together kind of thing and would probably work pretty well. And I'd be pretty happy in that combination. Then you take the magic route, including Roy Mustang to potentially give guts removal and make Hyoh generally better at killing things. If that's the case, you're just better to go with Kefka and just go pure magic and throw in Swimsuit Helena and really have a much better built team. I honestly don't know. I don't you could potentially have the idea of going with a Thunder route with Cloud, Mont, and Hyoh, and then that VC is giving you full benefits kind of thing, and you can mostly get a lot of combined strength. But again, it comes back to Dark Ifrit. Did you pull Dark Ifrit? And all of this brings me back to the general idea of, do I think that this is worth a 100 cost character throwing a lot of resources behind this? And man, if you don't have Dark Ifrit, I don't even know if the Dark Ifrit banner is even still available on Global. It just doesn't, nothing adds up here as being worth the cost, because it's not just 120 anymore. It's going up to 140, and it's fully reincarnating and fully committing to a character. 120 really isn't worth it anymore. So yeah, I mean, you can be mad about the fact that I just have come down once again on another fire elemental character that I just don't think measures up. But honestly, it just feels so-so, and I feel if you were trying to go for another 100 cost character in a sea of 100 cost characters, you guys, just get King Bradley. In all honesty, King Bradley has already been proven to be an incredibly amazing character. And guess what? It turns out in the future you're going to have an absolutely top tier 40 cost tank that you can just throw on with Queen Mashery and have a way better team. This doesn't feel like a sort of thing. I just think that there are better characters out there for the resources that you need to commit. So yeah, for people who like Hyoh, go for it kind of thing, I guess. But I just don't think, it's either full dodge or full magic. There is no in between, and Hyoh falls in between. He has accuracy to potentially go up against evasion characters, but he effectively makes the fire physical team that currently works worse, and then he potentially makes the full magic team worse. He doesn't have a home. So if you want to clairvoyant say that, oh, well, maybe JP is going to have another character soon that's fire elemental, it'll bring the entire picture together. That's a big leap of faith in a game that just isn't being that generous. And yeah. I don't know. I maybe the banners have more, but my first initial look of this character is basically, from a JP perspective, is no. Just no. And if he is a permanent unit, because I do remember I don't remember seeing in the post that he was limited, so I don't know, whatever. I'm just going to go off that information. He's not limited, then you can potentially get this character down the line. But even if my answer is no, that is my opinion. I may be wrong about it, but I just would not invest. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and see you next time.